Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Golf. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and joining alongside with me again this February 3rd, 2015 is my co-host, Legends Tour player, and LPGA professional, Cindy Miller. Cindy, welcome back.
Thank you, Ted. It's great to be here.
And Happy New Year.
Thanks. Happy New Year to you, too.
We're just having a little chat just a few minutes before we went on air. We'll continue that here in just a minute, but let me remind everybody, of course, we are live every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll be here for the next hour at www.blogtalkradio.com, and you can just go up in the search key there and type in Women of Golf, or you can just continue on with the full URL, adding on Women of Golf on the end there, and that'll bring you right to the network here. Also, new for this year, I actually had it done last year. For those of you that aren't able to tune in live, you can obviously go through at the same location at blogtalkradio.com. You can either scroll through the archive section or the on-demand section and pick up any of the shows that you might have missed earlier in the year or last year. And also, if you those of you that frequent iTunes, you can also go to the podcast section in iTunes and type in Women of Golf, and you can download any of the shows that you might have missed through iTunes as well now. It's available there. But thank you for joining us this morning, and as I said, we're live here from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time every Tuesday morning. And if you want to speak to either Cindy or I, or want to call into the program anytime during the live broadcast, you can do so by calling area code 347-945-5855, or you can email any questions or comments about the program to womenofgolf@gmail.com. And if you want to get in touch with either Cindy or I directly, you can email me at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And, of course, Cindy Miller, you can email her at cindy@cindymillergolf.com. We got a great show this morning. A very special guest joining us here shortly is going to be Susan Fornoff. She is the founder and editor-in-chief of Gotta Go Golf magazine, and she's also the author of a book, Confessions of a Golf Slut. So we're going to talk to her a little bit about that, and quite an unusual title, isn't it, Cindy?
Yes, it is.
A little controversy, and I want to point out, because I know that Susan has mentioned this through some of her comments, that it's not what you think. So we're going to ask her how she came up with the title, of course, and talked a little bit more about that. And then a little bit towards the end of the broadcast, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the bias that still goes on in the media, the gender bias that's been still going on that she's experienced herself as an editor and columnist of several prominent magazines and newspapers around the country. We're going to talk to her a little bit about that as we wrap up the show. But Cindy, always enjoy doing these. It's always interesting to find out just how many great women there are in the golf industry.
There really are a ton, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's not just
so cool what you can find.
Yeah, and it's not just the players either. I mean, there's a lot of great players now on both on the LPGA and on, of course, the Legends Tour where you're playing now. But just a lot of people both in the media and you were just down. I didn't make it this year, as I've mentioned on my regular show, Golf Talk Live, but I didn't make it to the PGA show. But you were down there this year.
I was down there. I went to the PGA Teaching and Coaching Summit, which was great. I learned a lot of new things of the latest technology, what's going on in the golf business. I saw Chris Cuomo, Butch Harmon, Jim McLean, Chuck Cook, Jim Hardy, lots of things. Michael Breed.
Great people in the industry that are contributing to helping grow the game, and as I said, there's a lot of newcomers, of course, to the industry, both on the male and the ladies side, and we're going to try and get some of the ladies on the program throughout the year. We hope that you continue to tune in with us, and we hope that you will pass the word around. Women of Golf Show, really what we're all about, Cindy and I, is to not only help grow the game, but help bring some of these great women who are a definite asset to the golfing industry. We want to bring those to your attention so that you can reach out to them and help them with their different business ventures, and just throw your support in helping some of these great ladies continue on with a sport that we both love very passionately. Cindy, what were some of the other things that you can recall? I know you mentioned off air you didn't get a chance to really do a lot of shopping down at the PGA show, but what were some of the things? Were there anything particular that caught your eye?
There's a couple of new tools. And I don't even know the name of it, but I spent $400 with them on developing your speed. It's got a logo of SSS Motion from Chicago, Illinois. That was pretty cool. Encore Golf is a new ball company. We had Brett on the show with us with the Steel Core ball. They were down there and had a great show. GolfMDs.com, which is a new search engine to find instructors all over the world. I did film some tips with them. So if you're looking for a golf instructor, no matter what city you're in, go to golfmds.com. And that was awesome. What else did I see? I stopped by the Adele booth. I wanted to try a bullseye putter. David Adele makes custom putters to how you see a line. And I was fit about 4 years ago in Massachusetts, and I wanted to change putters, and they told me you can't do it. Your eyes do not see the line with a bullseye putter. It's got to be a mallet head. So I learned something, how many people are using the wrong kind of putter and can't line up. Are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry. I was just adjusting while you were talking. I was adjusting my mic and that, and my headset sort of fell off. So I apologize. I sort of have used both, but there's a lot of things. When I was down there last year, there was a lot of interesting pictures, and I'm not talking about the main suppliers and that, but a lot of newcomers, especially in the ladies market. And I don't know if you had a chance to walk around and see any of that while you were there.
You know what? I just got a Facebook post from one of our listeners, so I wasn't listening to you. I was reading the Facebook post.
Shame on you.
I was blowing you off. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I've had that many times in my life, so I'm used to it. What I was saying, though, was when I was down at the PGA show last year, there was a lot of very new and interesting clothing designs, particularly in the women's market, that had been introduced. Some of them were there for the very first time, and some of the names, of course, escape me now, but some very forward-thinking designs and very interesting designs for the lady golfers, and you start to see some of it transcending out into the women's tours. Was there anything this year, Cindy, that you happened to see while you were down at the show that you got? I know you're busy, but did you get a chance to see any of those?
You know what? There was, but I can't even remember the name of them. Again, part of the reason that when you go there, there's a book that you can get with everything and all the information.
Right.
And needless to say, I got that book, and I did take a picture. They have a little section at the show of all the new designs and the new things, and I did stop by there, but I can't even tell you the names of them. But there's a lot of great company. You could probably go to PGAshow.com and look up and see, what's the new and latest things that were represented.
Yeah, exactly. Just for the listeners, so they understand a little bit too, part of the reason that many professionals such as Cindy go down to the show is really not so much just to sort of peruse through the grounds, if you will. You're really down there doing a lot of other things. You're doing some training sessions, you're doing some coaching, you're also there for some different seminars and so forth that are going on to help you become not only a better player, but more so a better teacher. So a lot of times the pros don't always get a chance to really go through. Is that correct?
Well, what happens is there's a lot of educational components, and the PGA
Right.
Teaching and Coaching Summit had 1,000 people at it, and it was Sunday and Monday.
Right.
Before the show started. And then the LPGA has a lot of educational components, and I did a training with them on Tuesday, and then I had to speak and do a training, teach a training for them on Wednesday, and then I had meetings with people, and then it's Thursday and Friday, and you're done. So it's very difficult to see everything because it's really the time of year for everyone to get together and network and develop better relationships. So looking at all the stuff is probably the last thing you end up doing. The other thing, I was very honored and thrilled. Wednesday evening, I was awarded. Yeah, I can't even talk. The U.S. Kids Golf Top 50 teacher, and
right.
So that was a great event that we had Wednesday evenings. And the women in the golf industry had an event. So you need to go connect with all these people. And it's just hard to see all the new and latest stuff.
Yeah, and congratulations, by the way. I do remember seeing that posted through much of the social media, so congratulations. I know that's a great honor and just adds to one of many honors, Cindy, that you've received over your golfing career, and I'm sure one of many more that you're going to continue to receive with all your hard work. Very quickly, I know that we'll probably have a few more minutes here before Susan joins us. I know you're gearing up for the 2015 Legends Tour season. What's up and coming, and what are you looking most forward to?
Well, an awful lot of people are turning 45, and they're really good, and they made a lot of money playing on the LPGA Tour, and they want to play. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to get to play. Although I am practicing, because rumor has it there might be a Women's Senior Open coming up. So that would be cause to pull the sticks out. But our first event is the Walgreens Charity Classic, March 6th through the 8th in Phoenix, Arizona. And then we have an event, the Chicos. We are partnering with the Symetra Tour, which is really going to be awesome, and St. Pete, with Chicos and the Symetra Tour, and we're going to have 30 people, 30 Legends Tour players, and 60 Symetra Tour players, and that is in April.
Fantastic.
So those are our first two events, which we're very excited about.
Fantastic. And I know there's going to be a full schedule. I know, of course, Jane Blaylock, of course, who heads up the Legends Tour on our show. Actually, I think she was on 3 times last year, if I'm not mistaken. Does a phenomenal job, getting that ready each and every year, and it's just, I'm sure, a ton of work for her, and I'm sure she, despite the holidays that we just had here a month or so ago, I'm sure she was very busy in preparation for the new season.
Absolutely, and now she's shoveling snow, I'm sure, as we all are up here.
Yeah, I know it's. Well, I'm not shoveling snow, obviously, down here in Florida, so but I feel for you. I've shoveled much of it over the years. But, Cindy, I see that Susan is here with us, so let me just very quickly tell the listeners a little bit about Susan, and then we'll bring her on live on air. As I mentioned, our special guest today is Susan Fornoff. She is the founder and editor-in-chief of Gotta Go Golf magazine, as well as the author of Confessions of a Golf Slut. And we're going to talk to her a little bit about both when she comes on the show. Susan's a trailblazing newspaper journalist and author, founded the publishing and consulting firm Gotta Go Golf back in 2010, and she began her golf as a golf writer for the San Francisco Examiner and Chronicle, and was most recently travel editor of the Chronicle. Her golf and travel articles have been widely published in magazines, and in 2001 she co-authored the book Northern California Golf Getaways with Corey Kenneser. Brett. She is an advocate for making golf courses more inviting to women, and in October of 2010, she launched Gotta Go Golf magazine, the online magazine for women who love the game, certainly not excluding ladies, girls, gals, and maybe even a few guys. Her new memoir, Confessions of a Golf Slut, is the book she hopes will make more women want to play this great game. And without further ado, let me bring on Susan Fornoff. Susan, welcome to the Women of Golf.
Good morning, and I'm not shoveling snow either. I'm here in Oakland, California.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us, Susan.
Thank you for having me.
Susan, I think we'll just want to start off just a little bit, as we do really with everybody, just explain a little bit about how you sort of got bitten by the golf bug and what was maybe some of your first experience with golf.
So I took up golf to meet men. I'm not ashamed to say that. I was in my 30s, and I was sort of meeting them the same old way and, having those movie and dinner dates where you'd sit in the dark for an hour and a half and, not really get to know someone. And so I started going to the range, and I started taking lessons in Alameda, California by a gentleman named Randy Herzberg. You know what I should say, if any of the ladies are listening, I started out in a Department of Rec program where once a week for 6 weeks you'd go to this softball field and there'd be maybe 8 grown-ups all getting schooled in the fundamentals. And it was a really good, unintimidating way to learn because you didn't feel like all the eyes were on you because everybody else was having the same issue. I think for women to get started, that's one of the things that come up. So that's really why I started playing the game. I had covered golf as a journalist for USA Today, the Baltimore News American, back in the day, and I had actually covered the U.S. Open, and I knew so little about it that I remember I was writing a story on a local tournament, and my father read it, and he said, I said about the guy, my father said, you only get one drive per hole. I said, what do you mean? And I had written my story. On his first drive, he hit the ball here, and on his second drive, he hit the ball there. So that's how I learned. Thank you, Dad.
Well, I as well got introduced to the game through my father when I was a youngster and have played on and off for many, many years. And, of course, I teach now, much like Cindy does. And, of course, Cindy, as I'm sure you're probably aware, was on the Big Break a few years back and now plays on the Legends Tour with some of the greatest ladies in the history of golf. And, Cindy, one of the things that I guess really sort of sets apart the amateur golfer from the professionals is the dedication and the time that is needed to really spend. What are some of your earliest thoughts, and quickly, on getting into game?
And Cindy, if you wouldn't mind saying, what is the difference in time in a week that I put in and that, Paula Creamer puts in to her game? Just to make me feel better.
I can tell you that you have to fall in love with the fight. And it's funny because I've got a couple of girls trying to get into college to play college golf, and they're getting a lot of no's and not a lot of yeses. And I discussed this with my son, or our son, this morning, and he said, because Jamie was a walk-on at Ohio State and played on the team, and then they took his scholarship away for a new recruit. So Ohio State at the time was 50th in the country, and 2 teams within the top 10 in the country offered him a full ride. So he was afraid no one would want him when I said, you've got to transfer. I'm not paying $35,000 a year for you to go to school. And he said, nobody's going to want me. I go, yeah, they will. And they did, and the next year he beat Webb Simpson. He made a 20-footer on the 18th hole to beat Webb Simpson at Hootie's in the Bulls Bay, and he shot 70, 64, 70 in a tournament. And I said, hard work pays off, and you have to let your clubs do the talking. But the catch is, he said to me, no one is that dedicated that we teach. And when I went to the University of Miami, I was a walk-on. I wasn't good enough to be on the team. They told me I couldn't, and I said, watch me. So you have to have that burn. And 5 years later, I was on the LPGA Tour. So it has to be committed, dedicated. You have to seek the truth. You can't. When you're a player, there's some people that play on tour that aren't as sharp as other people, and some of those people that don't maybe think as much might be luckier than the ones who think and try to control things because their mind is more active. But the commitment and dedication to doing everything you need to do, and when you've done everything and you're not good enough, it's not the right thing for you.
Right. Well said.
So, again, our son tried to qualify for the PGA Tour, shot 5 under par Q school, missed by 2. And he called me and he goes, you know what? I played really good, and I didn't make it. I think it's time to use my finance degree. So at this point, he's got his amateur status back. He's a +3. He won the New York State Men's Mid-Amateur Championship, and now he's being invited to all these fancy schmancy amateur tournaments. Now his new goal is to win the U.S. Mid-Am and play at Augusta. And
fantastic.
So again, you can't have it be everything, but you have to allow yourself the privilege of trying to solve the puzzle and be okay with where you're at. Are you the best possible player given your circumstances? And then you have to be happy with that. I'm at a crossroads right now with the Legends Tour because I don't know if you were on, and I said, I'm now 58. A lot of people, I've been fortunate enough to play on the Legends Tour for 14 years. I have proven to myself that the dream I had when I was 15 was not a nightmare. Yes, I am good at this, but I'm not Nancy Lopez or Julie Inkster, and I never will be. So what's my shtick? So all these people want to play, and they're way better than me, and they're in the Hall of Fame, and they've made millions playing golf. Does that mean I stink? No. It means I have different gifts and talents. It doesn't mean I'm going to quit, because if there's a women's senior tour or a women's senior open, I'm going to hit balls for sure. But you also have to be realistic and say, you know what, Cindy? You look in the eyes of 5-year-old children and give them a dream. You change people's lives.
Yeah.
So and I'm thrilled that I get the opportunity to do that.
Fantastic. Very well said.
Where are we with that Senior Open, Cindy, that you mentioned? Is the USGA any closer?
There's going to be a big announcement February 7th.
Very good.
I guess if it's big, it's not going to be that they're not doing it.
Well, and again, here's the other thing. We can be upset that no one pays attention to us, but the time that we were born, our mission is to be trailblazers. I hate to say that, but and we can get ticked off about it, or we can do something about it positive. And I believe that that's what we need to do. I just, I would love to have played at this time on the tour and make a lot more money, but it wasn't in the cards for me.
Yeah, and recognizing that too, I think is very important. There's a lot of, we see a lot of times, Cindy, I know you've seen it as an instructor, and I see it as well in my teaching, where you get parents coming out there, their kids, got certainly some talent, but it may not be enough to carry them to the level of the next Tiger Woods or Annika Sorenstam, and it's very interesting to want to pursue something if you have that dream. But at the same time, you also have to be realistic that it's maybe 1 in a million that's ever going to get to that elite level. And sometimes they have to be, as your son did, have something else to fall back on. It's great to sort of give it a try if you feel but you have to be realistic that you may not make it out there, but you may never be as successful as what some of the other leagues that are now on the legend. And recognizing that is half the battle.
Exactly. And again, we have a young girl. We got a couple young girls who want to play in college, but they also want to be. And one of the young girls is a competitive control freak, and she's only been trying to play golf pretty, committed to it for the last couple of years. And she said, I just don't think I can get that good with all the things that I have to do with my studies. And I looked her in the eyes. I said, look, you want to be a doctor. You have straight A's. You cannot be. You are already the total package. You're beautiful, you're smart, and you're a good player. Go to a school with really smart people, because really smart people typically aren't good at golf. So let's go to Columbia, play on the golf team, and get a great degree and become a physician. Oh, okay. They need to realize there's a place in the world for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, my readers would be, and I want to say I'm a contemporary of Cindy's, just for context here. I'll be 57 tomorrow, and I do have a round of golf scheduled tomorrow. But, so my new readers, I've recently had an agreement with the Women's Golf Alliance, which oversees 20 golf associations in the United States, women's golf associations across the country. And they include like our WGANC in Northern California and the PWGA, the South Carolina Women's Golf Association, Maryland, 20, all of these across the country are going to distribute my magazine. So we have a certain reader, and I realize, our stories need to speak to that reader. And I think what is an interesting kind of quandary is I think it's really important for this reader, who is us, Cindy, to make the game more appealing to the daughters of these women, and so that we have more women players and have a little bit more of that powerful voice in the industry. So I think, to make the content appealing to the typical woman in a golf association and her daughter is kind of one of the challenges I'm going to see. And, talking about the dress code, I'm not sure why we're still having to wear collars on shirts. What is the purpose of that? I have this whole section of my closet that's only for golf. It's kind of a waste of money. Things like that.
Well, it depends on where you play as well, I had a young girl this week came in. She's an actress. She does all kinds of plays and shows. She plays volleyball. And she took her first golf lesson. She wants to be an attorney. I said, do you realize, she's 15, I said, do you realize how much your personal stock value will go up if you know how to play this game?
Mm.
So that's what we need to be reaching out to.
Did she want to hear that, though?
Yeah. She was all about it.
Good. Okay.
One of the things...
She never even played 9 holes with her father. Her father wants her to play. But she's like, no, I want to do this. And it's funny because I have a daughter, both Alan and I played on the tour. And we've got 3 beautiful children. Only one of them wanted to pursue golf. But our daughter, who's the oldest, said to me her senior year of high school, she goes, you know what? I may not be very good at this, but I'm the only girl in my senior class that can go play 9 holes with Dave Eibach.
Wow.
So and now she's a field producer and a feature producer at the Golf Channel because she understands the game. So they need to be made aware that if you want to play with the boys, you need to know how to do this.
Ladies, something that really, Cindy, that you kind of made a point with just this last statement. I think a lot of youngsters, especially in the girls' market, I think they're under this misconception that by playing golf, that the only option there is to pursue a tour career. They don't realize the importance that golf can play in their everyday life, like you've very eloquently pointed out, as a great business tool. So many women professionals, and I'm talking business professionals now that are coming up through the ranks, are starting to open their eyes and realize, much like the men have for many decades, that golf is a phenomenal business tool, and by getting out there and getting involved and playing and competing on different levels can open a myriad of doors business-wide. And that's really a message, too, that the industry really needs to start pushing, and not just, not everybody's going to make it on a professional tour. That might be a great goal for some, but it's not realistic for everybody. But yet golf can play so many roles and such a huge role in everybody's life, and especially in a young girl's life. Susan, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about started up in 2010, Gotta Go Golf. Tell us a little bit about that and a little bit more about the magazine.
So, and by the way, on that topic you just raised, I think if somebody, maybe Cindy, could create a program for women, how to get respectable at golf in 60 days. That would be the opposite of how to get on the pro tour, just to get us so that we can get out there and play 9 holes.
Yeah, airborne and
be comfortable. So I launched Gotta Go Golf magazine in 2010, actually, as a digital magazine. It was probably the worst time to start any kind of golf business, and certainly a media business. And I couldn't grow it fast enough to get advertisers. So I think our most read issue had 5,000 opens. So I put it aside and worked on the blog and a newsletter, a monthly newsletter. So I have 4,000 people get the newsletter every month, and was looking for an opportunity to get the digital magazine going again, thinking that if I could deliver the women's readership to companies like EP Pro and Sport Haley and Lizzie Driver and, a lot of the companies making wonderful women's clothes, but where are they going to advertise women's golf clothes? Just thinking that if I could deliver a good audience that they would then support it. So we'll see if that happens or not, because I can't do this without advertising support, even no matter how many women are opening it. I'm not charging the Alliance for the magazine. So I'm really excited about this opportunity. This is going to go to 120,000 women. So I think that's a substantial market. And they're all already playing golf, so this is the audience that the golf companies really want to have, their customer. So I'm excited about that. And, the book came up while I was having a little downtime there, Confessions of a Golf Slut. And I know we talk about golf as a business tool, but it's also a really amazing personal tool. And and that's sort of what I was able to do. I got divorced in 2008 and started dating. I got divorced in 2008 and started dating again in 2009. And instead of, regular dates, I would try to have golf dates. And a lot of women react to that and say, oh, my gosh, you're stuck with a guy for 5 hours because it's not going well. And, my response was, well, this 5 hours, I'm going to know the most important things about him, and it's going to save me many more hours down the road. And I guess I could quit at the turn if it's really bad. And I never did quit at the turn, although one time I thought about it. And I kind of looked around, and it was such a nice day, and I had paid my own green fee, so I thought, I'll just keep going. What the heck? And it was one of those dates that was a one-timer, so that was that. But so I wrote the book sort of about that, and there's a more personal story there that is a very moving story that women would relate to, I'm sure. And also about my personal experiences covering golf and just seeing the amazing white sand at Augusta the first time, and the hills, and just go from watching on television the Masters to being there. And what an different experience, that lots of surprises, the 50-cent beers and all that stuff. So that was Confessions of a Golf Slut, and it's gotten a lot of great feedback. That brought that out about a year ago, and so it's still available and selling. So it definitely has a little staying power, I would say. So.
Well, and I got to tell you, what a tremendous amount of pressure to put on a guy to play 5 hours of golf and know that you're being interviewed at the same time. Talk about putting pressure on a lot of the men out there. But you know what? That's a great way, and I think that's a fantastic way, really, for people, as opposed to what you were alluding to earlier, some of the traditional ways that men and women meet, whether it be a bar or what have you. I think this is a great way because it tells really a lot about each other. For instance, for women, I'm sure it how a man handles himself on the golf course. And I'm not talking about his performance per se, but how he reacts to bad shots. Is he whipping clubs around? Is he quick-tempered and that sort? That sends a message, I'm sure, to a lot of women out there, the type of character that person is. So I think that's a great way, and I think kudos to you for talking about that and addressing it.
Well,
now
Ted, I think you'll be interested in the story in our first issue, our March 1st issue of Gotta Go Golf, because in there is a story of a 6-day first date. And the date was my date, but my date is also a writer. And so we each wrote a piece about this particular 6-day golf date. There were 4 rounds of golf in the date. And we each wrote a piece about it separately, didn't show each other. And it's pretty funny to see his story and her story together. And they're different. They're quite different. And,
I'm sure.
We're gonna have that in the magazine in the first issue. So I think that'll be fun for the men to read as well.
Yeah.
Susan, how do we find the first issue?
Well, GottaGoGolf.com is an entry point to all of the things we do. GottaGoGolf.com. So that would be. And I should add that the first issue will be free to women in the women in the Women's Golf Alliance. So that if you're in one of those 20 associations, you'll get it in an email from your association, or you'll get it in your e-revision. It will show up in that the little newsletter that brings you your index every month, every 2 weeks now. So
and do you have an agreement with the LPGA?
Have anything happening at this time with the LPGA? So, but hopefully we will. I can tell you our cover girl is an LPGA player for our first issue. So we're excited about that. So
awesome.
She's a long hitter and recently changed her hair color. How's that for you?
Oh, okay. A little teaser there. Well, and Susan, one of the things that I've been a big proponent of, and this is why Cindy and I really started this program, is, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a couple of minutes, about some of the perceptions still in the media. And I know that you're a big proponent of changing some of that perception. But, we wanted to really bring a forum, and we talked about this at the beginning of the show, really where we can showcase a lot of great women, and not just the players. I mean, we've had a number. We've been very fortunate, of course. Cindy has the opportunity on the Legends Tour to play with some of the best players, particularly in the past, but that were on the LPGA Tour, now on the Legends Tour, like Kathy Whitworth, Carol Mann, Rosie Jones, and on and on and on. But also some great women in business, such as yourself, who do play golf as well, but are doing other things in golf. And this is really what the Women of Golf show is all about, is really showcasing and letting women know that there is just as much of a place in golf as there is for men. And through our efforts, we're hoping to help create that niche and open doors, as I know that you are with what you're doing. But let's talk a little bit about the media. I know you've had, being in the media yourself, you've had lots of experiences. There obviously still is a lot of gender bias going on in the media. How has that affected your efforts, and what do you think it will take to change things around?
It's interesting. There's gender bias, and there's also the feeling by a lot of women that, we like to think I'm just a golfer or I'm just this, and leave out the gender preface. But I saw this great article this summer in actually it was recently in More magazine about feminism and how some of the women in their 30s think that it's not needed anymore. But then you see a cover of Golf Digest with Paulina Gretzky on it, in this sexy pose. And some of the advertising still in the men's golf magazines is so, it sucks and it's not talking to us. And so, after a while you just kind of say, even if they had a special issue once in a while or something, it does become kind of condescending, you know. And I mean, I don't think it's just about talking about women's golf, but also talking about men's golf in ways. We kind of want to know more about the personalities and lives, and you know, I don't really want to know a guy changed his lie angle on his club 2 degrees, and that's that's enough. So I just think there are different ways of talking about things, and it's a kind of a broad idea. And so that's what I'm trying to do with Gotta Go Golf, just create a conversation piece and, you know, a starting point that's accessible and not overly technical and not overly staid and not overly traditional, and just have a voice in this. And when Golf Digest does do a cover that's offensive to most women, you know, here we are at Gotta Go Golf who can have a strong voice and say, ew, you know, which is what has to be said.
So, Susan, I have to ask you a question, and this may seem silly, but if you want to have a stronger voice and you want to be perceived as, you know, an intelligent person who plays this game, not a man or a woman, why did you call your book Tales of a Golf Slut?
Well, that's in the explanation for the title is pretty much out there. Tommy Smothers, I was interviewing Tommy Smothers, and he was describing a golf slut. He was talking about his wife, and he meant it in a very loving way. He said she will play anywhere, anytime with anyone, and that is a golf slut. And I think most men know that expression. Maybe most women don't. But, you know, of course, the traditional term slut, it was, you know, basically used by men to, you know, if we never call a man a slut, right? It's only used as a derogatory term for women. Well, you know, why is that, and why do we allow that? So I just sort of reclaimed the word and rearranged the word and repaired it with something in a
it's very provocative. I mean, needless to say, people are going to take notice, which is, you know, kudos to you. That's awesome. And I agree, you know, play anywhere, anytime with anyone.
Do you think, Susan, do you think with respect to the media, and you were talking about in some of the magazines, of course, the golf publications, do you think that when they're communicating, one of the problems is that they're still trying to communicate individually, as in, you know, certain topics are geared at the men, certain topics are geared at women, as opposed to just geared at golfers in general? Do you think that's maybe more of what you're talking about? You'd like to see is not sort of always have to differentiate the boys from the girls. It's, you know, we're in the golf industry. We want to play golf. We want to learn about golf. Let's, without generalizing it too much, let's, you know, talk to us like we're a golfer and not, you know, that we're one or the other. Is that kind of what you're talking about? Hi, Susan?
Did we lose her?
Oh, I think.
Okay.
Hi,
are we all right there?
Yeah, that's okay. We lost your call. So let me rephrase it. I asked a question. Obviously, you weren't able to hear it. It was just with respect to the media.
No, I heard the end of the end of your question.
Okay.
You know, I just think that. So we want to say that we're just golfers. Well, there are all these studies on the genders that, I mean, there are, generally speaking, there are differences. And so for the women play golf generally for social benefits more than men do. Men will play more for competition. And this is research. There's GA of America has some great material, and it's connecting with her book that I'm sure Cindy's familiar with, or would, you know, most golf professionals should be. Anybody who's teaching women should look at the communication styles and the values. Time is a huge value of women. So there are just a lot of differences, and advertisers understand this, and that's why they do their advertising the way they do.
Sure.
That's why they use sex in magazines for men to appeal. And so there are differences, and I think it would be foolish for any professional communicator to ignore that and to
Right.
pretend that we're all golfers. If by doing that, then you use the opportunity. I think women at this time need to be spoken to and invited into the game. So how do we invite them? We do not invite them by speaking his language. We invite them by speaking her language. So
and
this is what I'm hoping.
Yeah, and that raises an interesting, point. Cindy, if you recall, last year we had Karen Jensen Palacios on the show. She's obviously in the golf industry and very prominent instructor and has been on the Golf Channel, featured many times. And she talked about one of the things that the LPGA was doing, I believe beginning this year, or it might have been late last year, is that they were coming up with a new program that was going to help instructors
teaching her. Yeah.
Teaching her, exactly. And it's going to be interesting to see how that program unravels, because much like you were just pointing out, Susan, it is there is a big difference, and I wasn't certainly trying to allude that there isn't. I just meant, we need to find a way that we can communicate to both without having to, necessarily offend the other all the time. And I think one of the things that what Karen was pointing out in the program was that the LPGA was very aggressively coming out with this new program, teaching her to be able to help instructors, because as you pointed out as well, Susan, men and women are different, and we need to look at the differences, and you can't necessarily teach women the same way as you do men, and vice versa. So this is something that obviously the golf industry is starting to work towards. I think sometimes it's maybe a little slower pace than what we'd all like, but nevertheless it is moving. What are some things that you would like to see change, obviously for better? And if you were sort of a bug in somebody's ear or a bird in somebody's ear, what were some of the things that you would do to help move the golf industry in a direction you feel would be better suited for everybody?
One of the things came up at the golf show. Golf club companies are frustrated that women aren't going and getting fitted for clubs, especially newer golfers. Why they don't go? Well, you know what? The club fitting experience is horrible for women. You go there, they put you on a camera. They look really closely at your swing and measure everything about it. They usually hand you a 5-iron, and you probably don't even have a 5-iron in your bag, and they're going to measure it. It's awful. So, why are you going to stress yourself out in the golf club industry wondering why women aren't coming for these and trying to get them to come? Why don't you create an experience that they want to have? We're just thinking about things in the old way. I mean, why not have a champagne sitting where you bring 3 of your friends out and you have this fun experience together? And it's just the old ways of thinking and trying to get women to do things the way they've always been done in the golf industry. So when can we change that? How can we change that? The collar thing. I'd like to have when I have enough readers, I think I'll have a 1-day kill the collar day and ask everyone to go to the golf course without a collar. Look really nice, wear a beautiful outfit, no collar on it. Let's get rid of this. We can look good. We don't have to have a collar on our shirt. And so these kinds of things that are just kind of silly things over the years that we're just not thinking hard enough about. Let's have restrooms on the golf course every 6 holes at least. We don't, the whole idea that you're going to pay $100 for a round of golf, wear a nice outfit, and then you're going to urinate on a tree. So, there are just many, many, many things like this.
Susan, I have a proposal for you. No, it's not a marriage proposal. I have a proposal for you, and I think this would be very interesting, and Cindy and I would be more than welcome to have you back on the show at a later date. I would like for you at some point in maybe, through your blog and through your magazine, that maybe you could pose a question, especially now that you have the Women's Golf Alliance affiliation. Maybe pose the question or questions, get them to respond back from feedback to you, and then maybe come on the program and share some of the thoughts and ideas that some of your viewers and followers have, and we would be more than happy to have you back and share it on the show. I think that would be a very interesting.
Ted, I do have a feeling I'll be hearing lots of feedback.
Yeah.
So,
well,
women have a lot to say, and I'm sure that I'll be hearing their ideas. And absolutely, we will have a poll in every issue. So that'll be a lot of fun. I would love to.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
That's
great.
I
think that would be good. And Susan, I see we only have a few moments left here, but I want to give you an opportunity before we wrap, just to remind everybody where they can go to find the magazine. You also have a blog, and also where they can get a copy of Confessions of a Golf Slut. So if you want to give out that information to the listeners, and then we'll wrap up.
Thank you so much for that opportunity. The book is widely available online from your favorite bookseller or your favorite shop, and it is a real book and also an ebook. And the magazine and all of our work, you can sign up right now to get our monthly newsletter, which is just a little fun thing. We try to keep you up to date on what's happening all around the golf world, and that's at gottagogolf.com, GOTTAGOGOLF.com. Thank you very much for having me. We never run out of things to talk about on these topics. So
no,
that tells you something. Yeah.
Well, as I said, Susan, if over the next little while, once the magazine get some feedback from your viewers and from some of the participants in that, we would love to invite you back to share some of that with the audience here. I know that they would certainly benefit from it, and we would as well. And we want to thank you, Cindy and I, for coming on the show and spending some time with us, and much continued success, and not only the magazine, but also more success, Confessions of a Golf Slut. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you both for having the program. Thanks a lot.
Have a great day. Thank you so much, Susan.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Well, Cindy, very interesting.
She's very passionate. Very passionate.
Yeah, and there's so many things really, and I like what you said at the beginning. I think that whatever change happens, we definitely have to be positive about it. I think one of the things that has really hurt, in every aspect, not just the golf business, I think sometimes we certainly have to be progressive and we have to move forward, but I think we have to be careful of how we do it and not sometimes, and it sounds like she's got a good formula here with her magazine and with her book and her memoirs and that, of trying to help make a change in this golf industry. And I think there have been some changes, as we discussed, and in the past and today, but I think there's still more that needs to happen. But Cindy, with your and my efforts, I think we can slowly make that happen.
We're definitely trying, that's for sure.
Well, Cindy, I know you got a busy day of shoveling out there. What's it doing? Has it been snowing the last day or so? I know there's been a major storm going through, but what's the
Sunday and Monday? It's okay today. It's okay. We got about a foot and a half yesterday.
Wow, incredible.
But you know what? I don't mind it. It's kind of like the off season. Everybody needs an off season.
That's
and and if you're in Florida all the time, you feel guilty taking an off season. And up here,
no, I don't.
You don't.
No, I don't. Listen,
well,
I had 40 plus years of shoveling snow. I don't feel the least bit guilty. I know what you mean, though. You're right. I do sometimes, kind of wonder what it would be like to break out the shovel again. But maybe you'll invite me up and I'll help you out. How's that? Cindy, as always, it's a pleasure, and it's great to be back here, the first show of 2015, and we're going to have some more great shows as the season moves on, and Cindy and I are going to work together, and along with many of the other partners in golf out there, we're going to try and do our best to help expose more and more women to this great game that we both love passionately. And I want to take this opportunity for the beginning show of 2015. Both Cindy and I want to thank you very, very much to all of the listeners from around the world for tuning into the broadcast each and every week. And we certainly greatly appreciate not only support from our listeners, but those who have shared their time with us over the last year and those that will be sharing it this year. So remember to tune in every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time here on blogtalkradio.com. And also for those of you that are through iTunes, you can now get access to the show through iTunes, through the podcast section. Just type in Women of Golf, and you'll be able to listen to any of the previously aired shows. But you can get us live every Tuesday at 9 a.m. on blogtalkradio.com. Cindy, thank you as always. Go have a great week and great weekend, and I will see you back here next week on the Women of Golf. Thank you, and have a great week.